From SF Land, this is Dorking Out, a podcast for people who love to dork out about movies, TV, and everything pop culture.
Welcome to episode 141 of Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and in this episode, I am dorking out about 1992's The Bodyguard with my podcasting sister from another mister, Margo D, from Book vs. Movies, The Best Neighbor Podcast, Fit Bottom Girls, and Not Fade Away. But wait, there's more. Also joining us is one of my favorite film writers and podcasters, so if I sound nervous, that's why. Adam Riske from F This Movie. Thanks for coming on the show to dork out with me about The Bodyguard, you guys.
You're welcome. Anytime I have an opportunity to have a forum to talk about Kevin Costner at length, I'm good.
And anytime I could talk about the year 1992, I'm awesome about it. So it was a great time in my life. So let's go.
I'm so bummed that we weren't friends back then, Margo. We were living in the same town too.
It kills me.
So I want to explain why we're doing this episode. So I reached out to Adam because he's a big Kevin Costner fan and I'm a big Kevin Costner fan. And we were going to do like a special episode where we were going to kind of talk about like underappreciated Costner movies. We were going to hashtag it like join the Costner station. That's Adam's joke. I would never be that clever. And we were going to do these like 6 movies. But then it became pretty obvious that these movies deserve more than the like 5 minutes that we'd be able to give them. And Adam, funny enough, said he could spend 2 hours on The Bodyguard. So then it turned into, let's just talk about The Bodyguard first. Does that sounds about right? Mm-hmm. Adam,
I got a question related to 1992 and The Bodyguard. So 1992 was the Summer Olympics.
Yes.
The basketball team was the Dream Team. Who do you think would win between the Dream Team of Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston or the Dream Team of the basketball?
Doing what? Playing basketball or singing?
I think it would be like a biathlon where they do the Dream Team stars in The Bodyguard, and then Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston would play basketball against like Lithuania. And
well, I tend to think that Costner can do almost anything, so I think he could beat them. But was Shaq on the Dream Team? Because then Shaq in The Bodyguard is pretty sweet.
No, it was Christian Laettner.
I don't know who that is.
That guy. Oh, wow.
I don't know anything about basketball other than Shaq.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
So let's start with this. Adam, why do you love Kevin Costner so much?
There's a lot of reasons. Part of it is because around the time I was like 7 or 8 years old, I started to watch pretty much every movie that just my parents were watching. It didn't really it didn't matter if it was more for grown-ups or not, but that was like the time that Kevin Costner like was really in his prime. So he kind of came onto the scene in 87. And then like by the time I caught up with him around Dances with Wolves and Field of Dreams, he was one of the biggest stars in all of the world. And I just kind of, he was like, I don't have role models per se, especially with celebrities, but I was just like, if I end up like Kevin Costner, I'm going to be in good shape. Because he was charismatic, but he was also kind of like very moral. And he was also really grumpy when things didn't go his way. That's one of the things I like about him is there's this dichotomy of like complete like morality and then just being such a dick. And I just always responded to it. And then like a lot of his movies, just especially at that time, were really good and like really rewatchable. And they would air on HBO and Showtime, and I would see them on video. So he became like a really kind of central actor of the movies that I was watching as I was growing up. And I've made this joke, I think, to you, Margo, before. He always reminded me of somebody that my dad would hang out with. And Like, and I think it goes down to the scene like in The Bodyguard where they're on the date and he's dressed like Al Borland. She's dressed like Whitney Houston. So I don't know, like he just always seemed like somebody that I would have known all my life.
That makes sense. I know that I saw Kevin Costner first, I think, in Bull Durham, and I would have been 17, and I just thought he was so sexy. But he was like he was like a man. So like usually when you're like 16 or 17, like you like other 16 or, you know, it's like I like Jason Bateman or what, you know, whoever was like the heartthrob at the time. But he was like a grown man who I thought was sexy, other than Harrison Ford, who I always loved ever since I was a little kid. So like I had like the Bull Durham poster on my wall and I was like, oh, Kevin Costner, so dreamy. And then as I got older, he was just one of those actors that I super liked. He was like a dependable actor to me, and that I would see his movies and I knew at least Kevin Costner was going to be in it, and I would at least be entertained by that. What about you, Margo?
So I think for me, he was in a movie, in the 80s called Fandango.
I remember that.
Judd Nelson's in there, and it's one of those, it would be an indie film, like 10 years, it was 10 years before its time. It was released in 1995. It would probably be a big hit. It was 1985. And he's just like one of the dudes in the cast. And he was kind of a dick, but very funny and very, very charismatic. And then he was in a movie a couple years later called No Way Out, which I love.
Yeah, I love No Way Out.
He was so good in that. And then The Untouchables. I remember he's so great in The Untouchables. And I just always found him really charming and really watchable, like you said. And then I have a weird connection to him in that when I was a kid living in Danville, California, my parents had a housekeeper, and she came by like once a week to clean the house. We weren't rich or anything, but her husband.
Sure you weren't, Margo. Margo's so rich, you guys. She's so rolling in it.
Super bougie in Brooklyn. So her husband, when daytime he was an Oakland firefighter, and then on the weekends, and I mean every weekend, he was in a Civil War reenactment group. And was based in the Bay Area, long away from the Dixie line, right? And they were really authentic. And they auditioned to be in Dances with Wolves, and that's the group you see in Dances with Wolves. So, and so he met Kevin Costner, and she got to go to the premiere, and she met all the people. And I said to her, like, what was he like? And her husband is not a star fucker kind of person, doesn't care. And he said they would just talk about fishing and stuff like that. But
oh
like
my God, he would hang out with my dad. Oh yeah. But he said like at times you could tell he could be kind of a dick. And he said, you know, also like they all were kind of wondering, is he really directing the movie, or is it the cinematographer or the second person? But he said he was a nice enough guy, like to go fishing and stuff like that. And I remember going to see Dances with Wolves. It's like 4 hours or something. Yeah, it was
ridiculous.
It was 3.5 hours long. It played at my movie theater.
And I liked it. I thought it was completely watchable. I mean, I was kind of surprised he never really got that much bigger after that. But he won an Oscar for that, for Christ's sakes. So that's my history with Kevin Costner, mostly.
I had a weird first viewing of Dances with Wolves because I was on vacation in 91. I think I was in South Carolina or Orlando. It was like the same trip. And we were in this Holiday Inn, and they had like the hotel room pay-per-view where you have the choice of like 6 movies. And for whatever reason, whenever we went on vacation, it was always like my family could each choose one pay-per-view movie. So like one of my siblings chose Home Alone, I chose Ninja Turtles 2, and then my mom chose Dances with Wolves, and that's how I saw Dances with Wolves. And I was like, this movie's great. It's way better than Turtles 2.
It's better than Turtles 2, for sure.
You saw it just the way it was meant to be seen, on a small TV in a Holiday Inn. It played at my theater forever, like because I worked at the Festival movie theater in Walnut Creek, and it played there for the longest time, but it could only show like 3 or 4 times a day because it was so long.
And they were worried about it making money, because you can't make money with a 3.5-hour movie normally. Yeah. But it did very well.
It did super well.
Yeah.
The Bodyguard, which is what we're actually going to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, 1992. Here we go.
Also played at my movie theater. And I really wanted to see it because I was a huge Costner fan. And my boyfriend at the time was like, pass. And I'm like, well, I'm going to see it anyway. And he was like, well, I'll just go with you anyway. Because he's, I'm such a good sport. And then when it was over, he turned to me and he said, I kind of like that. And I was like, I just remember really liking it. What was your relationship to The Bodyguard, Adam?
I saw it probably on video, I think. I remember that it came out around like winter break 92. I'm looking at the release date. It said like Thanksgiving, but right. I think it was later that my family kind of got together, and it was like my immediate family and my extended family, and like half of us were going to see The Bodyguard and half of us were going to go to a Bulls game. And I remember like it was predetermined for me that I was going to the Bulls game, which is fine. I like basketball, especially in that era, like with Michael Jordan and everything.
Sure.
But I remember being at the game and being so jealous that I was not at The Bodyguard. And that kind of made it like this forbidden fruit that like was in the air for like 6 months until it came out on VHS. And I watched it and like I loved it. And it was like a weird movie for like a kid who was in like 6th grade to like really love. It was something I had to keep close to the vest. I wasn't talking to my friends about how much I loved The Bodyguard.
Right.
But I liked my sister owned the soundtrack, and I would borrow it from her while I was playing Sega. I would like turn the video game down and listen to the Bodyguard soundtrack, basically just on a loop. There used to be this video called NBA Jam Session. It was like a VHS tape, and all it was like dunking. It was like shots of people dunking, and then they would play like a hip hop song over it. And I would like pantomime all the dunks in my basement, but I would turn the volume down on the NBA Jam Session, and I would listen to Queen of the Night. So I would dunk on like an indoor basketball hoop to Queen of the Night, but it wasn't like the lyrics meant a lot to me in that regard. It was just like that the beat like was that it was like that great like Rhythm Nation and Vogue like macho girl hip hop.
I love the image of Adam like dunking and being like, I'm Queen of the Night. Like,
yeah.
I'm Queen of the Night.
So I had this like long association with The Bodyguard and the NBA.
I mean, as most people do.
Distant. It's like the unofficial movie of the NBA.
Sure. They all talk about it all the time.
But leading up to this viewing, I hadn't seen it in a really long time.
Same.
It's not like one of the Costner movies that I go back to more than a lot of the other ones, like Open Range or A Perfect World or Draft Day or things like that. But I don't know. I'm like a really big fan of romance movies, whether it's like love stories that are comedic or dramatic. And this time it didn't work for me as much as it did in the past. And I think I love the 1992-ness of it all. I was mentioning to you that I love things like just the photography of that time and like just the font of the credits. Like what that title card is amazing. Like the way that it's placed and like how it looks and everything and where it fits in the movie. But I think my thing, and I wanted to get your opinions on it, was I don't feel like Costner and Houston have chemistry.
No.
Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I feel like the music makes up for a lot of it. And if it wasn't for that soundtrack, this movie wouldn't really be remembered hardly at all.
Oh, for sure. I think that's the only thing people remember about this movie is the soundtrack. And I wouldn't say they have like no chemistry, but it's more of like a friendly chemistry.
Yeah, it's not sexual.
Yeah, which is kind of a problem when the movie is supposed to be like they're so hot for each other.
And they can't be together.
Right.
Right.
But instead they're more like buddies.
Yeah. I have a very depressing thing to add to this. So I have an injury that I'm rehabbing, and I was in physical therapy the other day, and my physical therapist is 27, and she knows I podcast, and she was training somebody, and so we're working, I'm on the little treadmill.
So you were listening to Queen of the Night, obviously.
Yes. Well, I said, they're like, so Margo podcasts, and I'm like, oh yeah, and about movies and stuff. I'm like, well, what's the movie you're going to watch this week? And I said Die Hard, and they both knew that. And then I said The Bodyguard. They look at me, but strangely. And I said, The Bodyguard, Whitney Houston, Kevin Costner, and they're just staring at me. I'm like, well, do you know about Whitney Houston? And like, I think I've heard of her music before. I know.
Okay, well, they weren't raised right.
They were not.
Don't judge them too harshly.
I'm trying not to, but I was like, I wanted to relate to them on some level because I had just seen the movie the night before. So I was like, well, they're really young. Maybe they grew up with it and have a whole other attachment to it. But I think the one scene where he has the samurai sword or whatever and slices the scarf, I think that's kind of cool. And if there were two other actors that seemed attracted to each other, it'd be kind of hot. They keep saying like, this is her first time acting.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
She's not as stiff as Madonna. That's my compliment. Because Madonna is the stiffest actor ever. But I just don't feel the heat between them.
Yeah, when your leads have no romantic chemistry, and she's very charismatic, but she's not a very good actress in this movie. Like there's the scene where she's trying to like plead with him to like to protect her after like the third time she's fucked him over, and like she's like, please, I'm so scared. I need you to protect me.
Hey, are they in my house?
They have a weird acting dynamic together because I feel like the good thing with Kevin Costner is he's an actor who can really kind of connect with another person.
Right.
Yes.
And she presents at people. I feel like she doesn't act with somebody, she acts at somebody.
Yes.
It's the video stuff. I think doing music videos and just being a star.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah. Because he's great with Sean Young. No Way Out.
I mean, like him and Sean Young are great together.
Yeah.
When you brought up I want to say something about the sword scene because that always cracked me up because I know I'm not supposed to be looking into it at this level of detail, but it cleanly cuts a scarf. But then she can basically ram like 3 inches of the blade into his belly, and it's like he doesn't even cut it. Like, how much chest hair does he have?
Right.
But I was trying to, like, when I watched it recently, I was like, I can't figure out, like, when they start to dig each other. Like, I feel like I'm missing that scene. Like, when did that happen? So I went and I just kind of, like, fast forwarded through the movie again. And for him, it's like she tells him off in the dressing room. And then that night he's in his bungalow that he's at on her property, and he's watching the Run to You like music video really loud.
I love that scene.
There's a moment where she's running towards the camera in the video, and then he like sits up.
Yeah.
And I'm just, this is silly.
She's running to him though, don't you know?
Yeah. I can see why she's hot for him after he carries her out of that club, right? Because any man like rescues you and like scoops you up in his arms and carries you out, you're going to be like, oh dear, fanning yourself. But like, it's never really understood why he would be, other than she's very beautiful.
She's gorgeous. Let's say this. The camera loves her. And she is stunning in this movie. Not adorable, but she's stunning.
Yeah, so nobody has to drink. We have a running drinking game here where every time we say someone's adorable, everyone has to drink. But she's not adorable. She's just stunning.
Yeah.
My favorite part of that club scene is when he's carrying her and he's walking out, and then he just kicks the red herring stalker guy in the face. That guy always bothers me in this movie because, like, after the movie resolves and, like, we find out that it was, like, the dude from his past is the one who's the bad guy and everything.
Jesus, yes.
Yeah, it's
the
like
red herring guy still shows up, and I'm just like, he's a threat still.
he's the other bad guy gets away.
Yeah, I'm like, he's still at the Oscars. I'm like, this is bad.
And did they have, like, the fact that they made, like, the video camera a gun? It was a camera gun that he could shoot at people, and that got through all the security there.
Sure.
Which, by the way, no, it fucking wouldn't.
Right.
I know it was 1992, but it wasn't the wild. It wasn't Deadwood. You couldn't just walk around everywhere.
I loved when they were announcing the category for Best Original Song. One of the other nominees with Queen of the Night the song was called The Clock on the Wall, and it was from a movie called The Dining Room Table.
Clever.
It sounds
it's like
sounds
from the
really
director
good.
of The Dishes in the Sink.
The feather duster in the closet.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. That was good. That was sold out for like 2 weeks.
I saw that one in IMAX, actually.
It was very sexy.
Yeah.
So sexy. Well, if we're going to get technical, I also don't like that she arrives at the Oscars at night.
Yeah.
The Oscars are never at night. They start at like 3:00 in the afternoon because the shows are like 6 hours long.
And why does Robert Wool have the fucking gig?
I think Adam and I were tweeting about that earlier. Like
I was with you guys. I know.
Only in like fictional movie would Robert Wall be hosting the Oscars.
Do you remember he had a show called Our List?
Oh, yeah.
And it was on HBO forever. Like, who did he blow at HBO to have that show on forever?
The S's in our list were dollar signs.
God.
Is it a prequel to Entourage? Because it sounds like maybe it was.
It's just as douchey.
Yeah.
So during this rewatch, okay, so it didn't hold up quite as well as I thought it was going to, which my original argument was going to be like, this movie's underappreciated, and that I watched it, and I was like, no, it's probably appreciated at just the correct level.
Plenty. Yes.
But I do like the like old-fashioned melodrama of it, the 90s melodrama, I guess, that I feel like we don't get a lot of now. Like, and it is very easy to watch. I could put it on again right now.
It's 2 years before Pulp Fiction. It's like when things were still following a formula. It's a few years after Die Hard, and it's just before Pulp Fiction. And then all of a sudden we got this nauseating amount of indie films where everything was deconstructed,
right.
And you didn't know where it was going to go. And by the way, they originally wrote this in the 70s for Diana Ross and Steve McQueen. I fucking believe that. I don't think they changed
this
very much
movie
at
could
all.
have been like A Star Is Born. They could remake it every generation.
They should. Ooh,
Who would you have in it?
We have Rihanna. I said to you guys, Rihanna and Mark Wahlberg. I think they'd be amazing.
I think it needs to be Ariana Grande and Timothy Chalamet, so the people at your physical therapist know who it is.
They might not know Timothy Chalamet. He might be a little too indie for them.
He's everywhere. Him and that damn Lucas Hedges.
Oh, yeah, Lucas Hedges. Everywhere.
My joke about Lucas Hedges is, doesn't he want to make a movie that his friends want to see?
Ariana Grande's a good call because she's a comedian. Like, I think she could probably do it. Yeah.
No, I agree with you, like, on a certain amount of nostalgia for, like, this type of melodrama from the 90s, because, like, this was during... I talked to Patrick on F This Movie about this. I'm like all in on late 80s, early 90s Warner Brothers. I don't know who was running that studio at the time. And I'm too lazy to look it up. But I mean, it was like every year, it was like Joe versus the Volcano, The Bodyguard, Goodfellas, Unforgiven, like The Client. I mean, like it was just nonstop, like good, solid star movies for grown-ups.
I love The Client, by the way. I'm kind of obsessed with it. I was telling that to you, Sonia. Yeah. I totally agree with you. They had a really good run of adult movies.
Yeah.
And not grown-ups, movies for grown-ups.
Yeah.
They don't make
now
not too many. I hate saying like they don't make them like they used to, but they kind of don't.
They don't.
Yeah. Now I have to like walk by the phone store and there's like a giant wall banner for Fantastic Beasts, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I want to see that movie with 9 sad adults. It's like I don't want to see that. It's like Harry Potter was fun because it was about a bunch of kids in a magic school. You guys really didn't figure out what people liked about this, did you?
I haven't seen those movies, to be honest with you, and I love the Harry Potter movies.
I do too. I saw the first Fantastic Beasts, and that was enough for me.
Same.
Yeah.
It's like they took what we loved about the Harry Potter movies, and they could just like reset it back in the school, and it's like Dumbledore filling out paperwork or whatever. Like they didn't tap into what we like. It's a huge bummer.
If Kevin Costner was in the Harry Potter series, who would you see him playing?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good call. He can't do the Alan Rickman part.
No.
He doesn't have those chops. Like Harry's dad, who's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Done.
I like it.
And Sean Young's the mother. There you go.
Perfect. I love it.
It's No Way Out too, Hog.
Iman shows up.
Sure.
I love that movie.
So
can we talk about that next time?
Yeah, we can. I love that movie. What do you guys think about the spoilers for a movie that's like 26 years old, you guys? What do you think about the sister hiring someone to kill her?
Oh, for fuck's sakes. That whole sister subplot was so stupid.
You could see it coming like it was not a surprise even the first time I saw this movie. No.
I think it's like the only thing about the villain plot that's somewhat interesting, though, because the whole thing with the Forber bodyguard now was moonlighting as an assassin thing, like that really is so tangential to like the actual story that's happening that it just seems to come out of left field. Like it's one of those things where it's like a mystery, but like you could never guess who it is. So what's the point?
Right.
I don't know. I was just thinking, like, what if it was like Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper redoing the part? And I said, who'd be the sister? I'm like, Madonna. Someone who can't act, but can sing somewhat.
And someone who hates Lady Gaga.
Yeah, truly.
There you go.
Oh, I got a good story about Madonna in reference to The Bodyguard. So have either of you seen Madonna Truth or Dare?
Oh, yes.
Of course. We're going to talk about it one day.
Do you remember the scene where Kevin Costner goes backstage and tells her the show was neat and she makes fun of him?
And she insults him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Madonna was supposed to audition for The Bodyguard, but Kevin Costner was a producer and he blocked her from ever auditioning because of that.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a bitch to him.
Fucking rude. She was fucking rude.
Yeah. And then I heard like years and years later in the middle of one of her concerts, she just like stopped in between songs and she's just like, I'd like to take a moment to apologize to Kevin Costner. And I'm like, you damn apologize to Kevin Costner.
Stop it. You're making me laugh.
It's like, too bad, Madonna. You're not going to be in Bodyguard 2.
For a while, she was going by the name of Esther.
Right.
You remember? And she was following that subset of Judaism. And,
the Kabbalah.
Thank you, the Kabbalah. Yeah, and she just was like, oh, I'm nothing. I'm not nothing. I'm just, we're all the same. And I think she wanted to apologize to him. But, she's full of shit. I'm not a big fan of Madonna.
It sounds like you're not.
No.
You know, they were going to make a sequel, apparently, but with Princess Diana.
Stop it.
That's what I read, so it must be true. The internet wouldn't lie.
Okay.
The internet would not lie.
All right, how about remake The Bodyguard, Ariana Grande, and Kevin Costner?
They still hook up.
Yeah.
She's tiny enough, so he could pick her up because she's so tiny. It wouldn't hurt him. Yeah.
He like balances the sword, her on his sword.
You know, she's so tiny, they could get Tom Cruise for The Bodyguard.
That's true.
She'll make him look like a giant.
Is it part of Ariana Grande's thing too that she likes to be carried by her handlers? So like that works out perfectly for the club scene.
Because she wears really high heels, but it bothers her back. So she's which I kind of get. If I could, honest to God, if I could have that life, I would take it.
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? You can carry me around like a baby. Sometimes I'm tired.
I get it.
So I wanted to talk to you about the character of Sai, who's like her publicist.
Uh-huh.
Like, can you imagine that guy, like, out of the context of this movie, like, does he have to be on top all the time? Like, can you imagine his life when it's like he's not like on the A-list or with the A-listers and stuff? It must be like such a fall from grace for him, like just to go to the market. For the
It's one of the things in this movie that drives me nuts is that she doesn't realize until the movie's almost over how much danger she's in.
She's oblivious. Like,
it's super annoying.
It never occurs to her that it might be dangerous to have like this house with all the doors open. And she's getting these death threats and she has a kid and she says, she's like so resistant. Like, nope, I'm going to live my life.
It's not until the stuff in Miami that then she's like, oh shit, like my life's actually in danger. And, then she gives that really well acted speech about how she's so scared. And then he's like, okay, but you have to do whatever I say. Now come meet my dad.
In Lake Tahoe. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's like he forces her to spend time with his family. So, come pet my little dog.
It is a great house, though. I would love to be there.
I know.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
beautiful.
Like that house shot with the 1992 cameras. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, does he do that with all of his clients? Like the guy from the opening scene, did he stay with the dad too for a little while?
To former presidents.
Yeah.
President Ford had to hang out there.
Yeah,
danger from Squeaky from.
Yeah, the priest at the end, I assume he stayed with Costner's dad as well.
Yeah, he's hoping that nobody reads the Yelp reviews, and it's just like whenever he gets backed into a corner, we have to go to his dad's cabin and we can't leave.
That's a hell of an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Oh God, that last shot where he's just protecting the priest.
Yeah.
And he just looks so forlorn.
Oh, I love movies that end on a freeze frame. It's like my favorite thing.
Just like Flashdance.
Yeah, just like Flashdance and just like Purple Rain.
Oh. How long do you think it'll take both of them to get over each other, respectively?
In a second.
In a second?
Yeah, she's already sleeping with someone else.
Yeah, she was stuffing someone else. Yeah, right away.
Yeah, she'll forget. Out of sight, out of mind. She's a big star. They're busy. They have busy lives.
Rachel is not a deep person.
No, she really isn't. Yeah.
No.
She's probably sleeping. She's probably hooked up with Sai.
He'll be haunted forever, though.
He'll be haunted forever.
He will. Yes, she will not. I'm saying that Rachel is very shallow.
Yeah.
Rachel
well, the guy
Marin.
who 20 years later, still upset that Reagan got shot on his day off, I think he's going to have a hard time getting over Rachel.
I was at the Oscars with Wool. And now look where I am.
The clock on the wall got robbed.
Never forget.
And now protect this probable pedophile.
Oh my God, that's probably why. That's probably why he's getting death threats.
Yeah, it should.
Oh my gosh. You just wrote a whole other movie. I would watch that movie.
In a second.
So
I think the biggest 1992 whiplash that I had watching this was when Chris Connolly was on the Oscar red carpet.
Oh my God. Yes. He used to be on MTV all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the editor of Premiere Magazine. I was a big fan of his.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That was exciting. I got to meet him once. He was I was the publicist for YM Magazine, which is a teen magazine back in the day.
I remember that.
And oh yeah, he was so cool. I forgot to ask him about this though.
It's not too late.
It's not too late. I'll find him on Twitter.
Okay.
This soundtrack in this movie was just all over MTV. It was like a movie that was like made to win MTV Movie Awards, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Absolutely.
But it's not like Flashdance where they take like huge chunks of the movie and they just play them as music videos. It's not that kind of movie, but it's pretty close.
It's damn close.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always liked when movies like this exist. They were all over the place, way back when, but now it's like A Star Is Born and that's it. But where outside of the movie, you could listen to the soundtrack and it feels like you're still kind of living with the movie. It has like a life outside of the movie.
Yes.
And I miss that a lot about film today. I feel like that's why it's not the only reason, but it's like a reason why everything feels so ephemeral. Whereas, I don't know. I mean, like, shit, I used to listen to those like Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze soundtracks, and I'm just like, this movie still has life.
Is that the one with Vanilla Ice?
Yeah, that is the one with Vanilla Ice. Yes.
I love it. I love that you listened to that. That movie played at my theater too, so I cleaned that theater many times and listened to that Vanilla Ice song that played over the credits.
It's among one of his best.
Do you ever see his DIY show, by the way?
No.
So on DIY, Vanilla Ice, where he flips properties. And the whole thing is like he's in Florida. So like every other episode, there's a hurricane that comes through and he has to like manage it. I'll tell you this about Vanilla Ice. He's a great boss. He's
that's good
really
to know.
He's great at managing people. He handles problems really well. He treats people really well. I have to say this with Vanilla Ice, for all whatever he did in the 90s, he's an awesome boss. Like I honest to God, business schools should watch him.
That's good to know.
hear.
Yes. Yeah. He's doing very well.
Good.
Well, we should talk about Cool as Ice sometime.
Oh, yes, please.
I've never seen it. Should I?
It's pretty stinky.
I figured so much.
I can't in good conscience recommend that movie to you.
Is it stinky like you smell it and you're like, it's stinky, but then you kind of want to smell it again? Or is it stinky like, oh, gross?
No. The awfulness of it just kind of washes over you at times, and it's just irritating. It's got a few fun montages, but other than that, no.
Yeah. It's stinky like if I smell it and then I wouldn't say to you, ew, this stinks, smell it. Like that.
Okay, fair enough. So I wanted to ask you both, how would you rate, what is your power ranking of Whitney Houston songs from The Bodyguard of the 5? How would you rank them from least favorite to favorite?
And the least favorite was number 5 and the favorite was number 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Who goes first?
Sonia, you, then Margo, then me.
Okay.
And we'll go like our 5s and then 4s and then 3s and then 2s, then 1s.
Okay. So my fifth favorite That's right?
Yeah.
Okay. Run to You. Probably my least favorite.
Okay. My fifth favorite, I'm sorry, Adam, it's Queen of the Night. I think it's an En Vogue reject. It's not like Janet Jackson's Black Cat. I'm sorry. I'm not feeling it. It just never really got. I think she looks great, but no. I don't hate it, by the way. If you're just
I would listen to any of these songs right now.
Yeah, they're all great. It's not my favorite.
My number 5 is I'm Every Woman, and most of the reason why it's number 5 is because of her yelling Shaka twice at the end of the because the second time she yells Shaka, it sounds like she tried to get Shaka Khan's attention and it didn't work.
Right.
And then she's losing her patience.
Well, that song is number 4 on my list.
Oh,
Look
wow.
at that segue. Yeah.
Oh, you guys. All right. So my number 4 is I Will Always Love You.
Don't lie, Margo. That's your number 1.
I could not. They just played it too fucking much at the time for me. And so I appreciate what it is. And I love the Dolly Parton version, but that's not my number 4.
I'll go with Run to You as my number 4. Nothing wrong with the song. I just think the other 3 are better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So then my number 3 is Queen of the Night. By the way, I super love the video with her weird, sexy robot outfit.
The outfit is great. It's the best part of it. My number 3 is I Have Nothing. I know it's cheesy as shit, but I love it.
My number 3 is Queen of the Night. It doesn't have the same appeal to me now as it was when I was 10, but it's still it's still a jam. It's still a jam.
I have to say though, after your story, Queen of the Night might be my number 1. Like if you ask me again tomorrow, it might be my number 1.
I remember thinking during the lyric where they say, I got the stuff that you want. I'm just like, oh, she means like the stuff is the dunk. And I kind of always pictured it like I was dunking to impress her, like she was on courtside, and she's just like, man, the guy's got game.
I love it so much. Okay, so my number 2 is I Will Always Love You.
My number 2 is Run to You. I don't know. I just really enjoyed it this last time, as stupid as it is. Maybe because I just never hear that song ever. So that was my number 2.
Yeah, my number 2 is I Will Always Love You. I really like the song, but it's basically like white noise now. Like whatever I was ever going to get out of it, I got out of it. And now it's just there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And my number 1 is I Have Nothing, which I still super love.
My number 1 is I'm Every Woman, and I'm damn shocked at you guys for not like naming that your number 1. I saw Michelle Obama over the weekend at Barclays, and they were playing this, out over her, and so that maybe that's what it is. I'm in a Michelle Obama fun haze still in my brain, but it's I'm Every Woman.
My number 1 is I Have Nothing. It makes me feel like I can fly. It's a beautiful song, and
It is.
I mean, like, just from off the top, like it just starts with that like beat, and I'm hooked for like the next 4 minutes. Yeah.
Does the song I Believe I Can Fly also make you feel like you can fly?
No.
Yes.
No. Under the
wow.
Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers does.
I really don't like that song.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, you guys, we need to do an episode of just annoying songs.
That'd be fun.
It would be
That would be fun.
It would be the least listened to podcast episode ever.
It would anger so many people.
Nobody wants to talk. No one wants to listen to songs that they hate. And I don't, for some reason, Under the Bridge rubs me the wrong way.
Oh, it's shitty. It's terrible. That's my generation too. I remember I was in college, and people would play it over and over again. And that and their version of Higher Ground, the Stevie Wonder song.
Oh yeah,
It's dog shit. It's way too fast. They're all on speed. They miss the point of it entirely. Yeah, I'm with you.
Do you remember that song by Four Non-Blondes? The What's Going On? Oh, God.
I love that song.
I hate it. Oh.
I know. I can't play it in my classes. I used to play it for cool down, and like half the room would be so angry.
Yeah.
And then the other half would be singing along. And it was just too divisive. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. No, it makes me want to drive into a tree. I hate it.
Yeah. I get it.
Makes me want to like slam a can of Barks root beer.
That's because you're younger than us. When we were all drinking age when that song came out.
Yeah, while I was drinking Barks, you were drinking like Knob Creek, I guess. I
was drinking Bartles and James.
What was I? Bartles and James. I think that's what I was drinking then.
Oh, okay.
Zimas. We were drinking Zimas.
Yeah, you know, when this movie came out, I don't think movies were very good or exciting to me in '92. So I was seeing bands at the time.
Ah.
So I saw like Nirvana and people like that back then.
Now, see,
so I think my time was well spent.
I was working at the movie theater, so I was seeing every movie because I could see them for free, which was awesome. You know, so I looked up to see what other songs were nominated for Oscars because I just assumed that I Have Nothing won, I guess because it won in the movie, so I assumed it won in real life. And I looked it up, and it did not win. Do you guys know what won?
No.
A whole
Let
new.
me guess.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm guessing something from Aladdin.
Yes, A Whole New World from Aladdin. And then also nominated was Friend Like Me from Aladdin, I Have Nothing, The Bodyguard, Run to You, and then Beautiful Maria of My Soul from the Mambo Kings.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you talking
Why
about?
are we talking about the Mambo King?
You don't play Beautiful Maria of My Soul in your workout class, Margo?
No.
You should play Friend Like Me.
Oh, for God's sakes, I forgot about those songs. I forgot about Aladdin.
Well, it used to be like those songs from Disney movies, they were like unbeatable. I don't think they necessarily always win now, but back in the day.
They were instant hits.
Right?
Yeah.
Little Mermaid.
I listen to that Mambo King song sometimes when I'm updating the Robert Wolf fan site.
Poor Robert Wolf.
You're such a good person, Adam. Somebody has to do that. Actually, you're probably not busy, right? You're not spending a lot of time doing it.
No, I wish that second stalker from The Bodyguard, like they show, like the last scene of the movie, they showed the freeze frame of Costner, then it's credits, then the mid-credit scene is the second stalker, and he opens up the locker, and it's all pictures of Robert Wool.
I love it.
Oh, I would see the shit out of that movie.
And then Nick Fury shows up and recruits Costner to join the Avengers.
League of Bodyguards.
League of Bodyguards. Everything has a universe now, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
So which would you rather watch? Would you rather watch this Bodyguard or My Bodyguard?
Oh, My Bodyguard.
See, I think I'd rather watch this one.
This Bodyguard.
Yeah. Now,
Maybe.
would you rather watch this one or The Hitman's Bodyguard?
This Bodyguard.
Yeah.
So I guess I do love this movie still. Because those are the only 3 movies that were ever made, and this is the best one.
That's it.
Okay, of the 3, yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
So join us next week on the show when we talk about The Hitman's Bodyguard.
When you mentioned earlier, you said something about like Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga in a remake of the Bodyguard. Don't you think? Like, I think that would be great, but I also think like if we wanted to do a trade, I think Costner, Whitney Houston in A Star Is Born would work too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
He sings. Kevin Costner sings.
Yeah.
Margo plays his music all the time in her workout classes.
It's a big hit. It gets everyone's heart rate up.
The summer festival around me has like it's just like a carnival with bands basically, but it's pretty nice. And like they have 5 acts, like a Wednesday through Sunday, they have a different act. And then this year on the Friday night, they had Dennis Quaid and the Sharks. And I'm like, we're like a year away from Costner's band.
Oh my gosh. I would love to go to a show that's Costner's band, Dennis Quaid's band, and the Bacon Brothers.
Holy shit. Okay.
Like my town also. Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys remember the show Northern Exposure?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Who played the DJ? What's his name? I'm blanking on his name.
Adam
John
knows.
Corbett.
It's only Adam's favorite.
John Corbett.
John Corbett has the best voice of all time.
So he has a band, and when I worked for Modern Bride magazine. They had an annual award show, and he was the band that we paid for, and they paid $15,000 to fly him and his band from LA to New York to play a gig, and he brought Bo Derek with him. That was his girlfriend at the time. Yep.
Seriously?
Yep, and I have a signed CD from him.
Adam's insanely jealous right now.
Yeah. Was this pre or post Greek wedding?
This was in 2002 or 3.
Okay. No wonder why he cost $15,000. That's his moment.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. We paid for the instruments and everything. And I remember saying, like, really? This guy? And like, oh, yeah.
Margo,
Yeah.
I love hearing about what magazines you've worked for. YM, Modern Bride,
Jesus.
Guns and Ammo,
Yes.
Bow Hunter Monthly.
With Ted Nugent. Yes.
Speaking of Jesus and John Corbett, do you know the movie All Saints? It came out like last year.
I didn't see it.
Nope.
Okay, so it's like this really low budget, independent, religious movie, Christian movie. And I went to see it in the theaters, and I was the only person who saw it because they were there for John Corbett.
You are such a big fan. That is dedication.
I'm like, he's not gonna be a lead in anything else. I'm like, so everybody's there to like, you know, get to heaven, and I'm just like, I'm already here.
Oh my! I wish John Corbett and Kevin Costner would make a movie together. That would be your heaven.
That would be perfect,
like
actually.
That's like my Voltron.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh. This was so fun. Do we have anything else we want to say about The Bodyguard?
I literally have nothing else to say about The Bodyguard.
We've said more than anyone else has said ever about The Bodyguard.
Exactly. And we've lost everybody under the age of 27, just so you know. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, because we had a ton of listeners who are under 27. They love to listen to us talk about old episodes of WKRP.
I'll put it in context for your listeners who are under 27. The Bodyguard in 92 was like Snapchat. It was that big.
It was that big. It was so huge.
For a moment.
And it had all kinds of filters.
It really was that big for a while there. I mean, that soundtrack anyway.
This movie was really, really big. It made,
yeah.
I think it was the second highest grossing movie that year behind Aladdin. And of course,
wrote it.
And the soundtrack was everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the best-selling soundtrack of all time by like 10 million albums.
Yeah, that's insane.
Wow.
Crazy. You know what I miss about this time too is when The Bodyguard was out, that was when like newspapers would have the ads in the newspapers for the movies, and they would always like, if a movie was a few weeks in and it was a hit, it would say like 7th smash week, or like if it was the holidays, it would be like Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston from The Bodyguard, but then they would have like affixed Santa hats on them.
What are newspapers?
They're like Instagram. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like Instagram, but on paper. It's really, ask your parents. Ask your parents about it. It was the thing. I used to work there. Adam, where can people find you on the internet?
So I write and I do podcasts sometimes on fthismovie.net. That's the letter F. And then I am on Twitter at Riske, Riske, Adam. And you can find me either of those two places.
And Margo, where can people find you besides here?
The best place is to look for me on social media at Brooklyn Fitchick, including my blog that I occasionally tend to, but especially on Twitter, reach out to me, Brooklyn Fitchick.
And you can find Dorking Out at dorkingoutshow.com and on Twitter at Dorking Out Show. And you can find me at The Sonia Show on Twitter. And this was super fun, and we need to do it again because we need to join the Costner-sation.
I'm very concerned about the Costner Nation.
Yeah. Which one should we do next? Should we do No Way Out? We need to do draft. Yeah. We need to do draft day.
I feel like No Way Out's got the heat right now. Like that's like it's like we organically kind of came to that one.
Okay.
I think I would love to do that one actually.
Okay, so next time it's going to be No Way Out, you guys. This was super fun. Thank you so much, Adam, for coming on. It was so exciting to have one of my favorite film writers on the show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love your show, and I've loved our discussions over Twitter, the past couple of years and everything like that. So it's my honor to be on your show. It was really fun. You're,
I'm going to go on and on a little bit, but your episodes of F This Movie, they've meant a lot to me over the years, and you guys really entertained me and made me laugh when I needed it, and I'm super grateful, and thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime.
And Margo, always thank you to you, but you know that.
I know that.
All right, and goodbye.